Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another breakfast chat. And today I'm going to chat with you guys about something that has become a major fraud and scam in this industry, and we should talk about it, and that's certain devices. All right, there's two types of devices. I'm not going to get into the names of any of them so that we don't deal with any repercussions. But devices that claim to have the ability to measure your body fat percentage, those are a scam. They're a fraud. They're not based on any science. They do not have any ability to measure your body fat. So if you're talking about any of those scales that use bioimpedance, you either hold them in your hands, you step on them, you stick it to your body. Those things do not work. And when I say they do not work, it literally is a random guess. People say, but mine seems somewhat consistent, and at least it gives me some information. No, it doesn't. It's spitting out pretty much a random number for you. And they are so inaccurate that there have been literally cases of people in the same day, just by changing their hydration status, who are 15% body fat at one time a day and 25% on another. All right? That margin of error is so high that it doesn't give you any useful information, right? It doesn't give you any useful information. Because how big of a difference is that? 10%. So for someone in my weight range, that's over 20 pounds difference body fat that he can measure in the same day. That's months and months of dieting or bulking difference in the same day. They're completely useless. And they're not based on actual science. And that's the thing that people need to remember. It's just a fancy gadget that someone came up with a hypothesis and said, I bet if we run electric current through someone, we could figure out about how much fat and muscle they have by looking at the amount of resistance through their body, of the current. Okay? It's kind of a harebrained hypothesis that might, in theory, work. But the thing is, it was never tested enough to get any form of accuracy before 50 companies started making these scales and devices to do this. Okay? It's completely useless. And if you're using it, and some people say, well, I got a scale that has one already, so I look at it. Don't look at it. It's not useful to you. It's not going to help you. It's giving you almost a random number. Okay, it's giving you a random number. So therefore, it's actually a scam. And if you paid $5 extra for a scale that could do that, you got ripped off. And then there's more expensive devices that people have, and I've seen personal trainers use them and things. Like, well, it works more localized. It's still a scam. It doesn't have an actual way to work. Okay, it's based on a formula of how much resistance is being picked up going through your body, but that's what it's measuring. It can't measure body fat. The only two accurate ways to measure body fat are DEXA scan, and of course you'll see people say, well, I've cheated a DEXA scan before. You can only cheat your lean mass on a DEXA scan, and you have to do it intentionally. I don't recommend. You've also wasted $100 to do it, to get that scan done because you decided to alter it and mess with it. Well, you're throwing your own money away by messing up with your own reading, but you won't be able to alter the body fat on it. And I don't mean the percentage, because if you could add or subtract 20 pounds of lean mass through dehydration or things like that, that would be different. But if you're consistent, that won't happen. But the thing is, you won't be able to cheat the body fat because it doesn't hydrate and dehydrate the same way muscle tissue does. It's going to be the same no matter what you do. DEXA scan is your only accurate way, and autopsy, to where they actually take measurements. All right, short of those two things, you have no way to measure your body fat. In fact, I would argue quit worrying about your exact percentage if you're not willing to pay the money to go get a DEXA scan. Okay? You're not going to get it accurate anyways. You're just going to have a ballpark. Get a DEXA scan. At least a couple of them in your life so you'll have some idea to work with. The other one, things that claim to track your calories. Okay, these devices that people wear, apps on your phone to where, oh, I burned 800 calories during this activity. No, you didn't. You don't know that. The device can't measure it. You can't measure it. It makes assumptions based upon your heart rate, your body weight, muscle mass, whatever inputs you put into it. It makes assumptions. At 800 calories you burned could have been 300, it could have been 1,000. It can't fully accurately measure it. And here's the other thing. Why does it matter? In other words, energy turnover is dynamic anyways. We should be assessing our calorie maintenance based upon our daily changes in scale weight and our food intake. And this is if you're serious about lifting or being at a certain body weight, you're going to weigh yourself every morning, right? You're going to weigh yourself same time every day, like clockwork, and you're going to at least track your calories. Okay, that will always tell you where you are, right? At least for the average for the week. Because that's what we're concerned about for weight gain, weight loss, weight maintenance. We're concerned about what is your weekly energy turnover versus your weekly intake on average. Because your body doesn't even digest food in a 24-hour cycle. You're still absorbing calories sometimes from food you ate up to 3 days ago, right? Hopefully people know this. They're aware of this. This is how you should be tracking your energy needs. Changes in scale weight versus what you've been eating on an average throughout the week. That's it. And it's actually quite easy to do. Once you get used to doing it, something like that takes very, very, very little time or effort. These devices can't help you. And here's the point. Does it really matter that you burned 800 calories doing whatever that session was? Because if you don't know what you're burning for the whole day, that little bit of exercise doesn't matter. Furthermore, what do we know about NEAT? People who do large amounts of energy burn through cardio or conditioning work, you actually burn less calories during other parts of the day. Okay? So that's a real big problem with tracking that. Your NEAT goes down. And NEAT oftentimes burns more calories than your exercise does per day. And that's non-exercise activity thermogenesis, right? It's a big part of your calorie burn. Your BMR is a big part. NEAT's a big part. Then what you burn during exercise is a big part. And then we have the thermic effect of food aspect. There's multiple variables that determine what you burn through the day. But usually if your exercise goes way up, your NEAT goes down. Your body then tries to conserve energy. It's like, oh man, we burned 600 calories during cardio today. I'm going to try to burn 200 less while I'm at rest. Your body's going to be less energetic. You're going to twitch less. You're going to move around less. Your body will try to compensate for that to some extent. Because we are designed for energy conservation. Right? It's needed for survival. Humans survived a lot of ice ages and famines. So our body does its best to conserve energy, does its best to conserve body fat, does its best to not try to put muscle mass on it doesn't have to. Tries to keep your energy low. So if you're burning a bunch through intentional activity, your NEAT will go down. So your total effect for the day isn't even what you burned. And that is assuming it could even measure it accurately, but it can't. One of the problems with it is that it also creates eating disorders because then people feel like, well, I have to burn the 800 calories on this device to eat this extra 800 calories. So you see how this works? You're like, I'm then earning my food. Instead of the mindset of, hey, I need to eat. If I want to burn amount of calories, if I want to do activity, I'm going to need to fuel that activity with this food. It tends to create it on the backside to where people start to feel like they need to earn their food. Well, that's where we start falling into eating disorders. And now granted, a lot of people would be better off with those sort of eating disorders than being morbidly obese, like is a big problem in our society. But we can't remove the seriousness of those eating disorders for people who are already healthy. Okay? It's a problem. It is a problem. It causes a lot of harm. But at the end of the day, the thing to remember is that both of these two types of devices that we're discussing do not have the actual ability physically to measure the things that they claim to measure. They're a scam. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.